Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of Real Talk. All right, Rob. So what's up? How you doing? How's your weekend been? How's everything going?
Weekend's been good. Same old, just avoiding going outside as much as I can because I don't want to die of fire inhalation. And
That.
yeah, just trying to survive. What about you, Adrian? How's everything been?
Uh, yeah, I've been good. I've been good. Just been kind of bored because everything still closed and
I
you
hear
can't go
you.
anywhere. And
And you can't make trips to San Diego every
yeah, I
weekend.
can't do that every weekend. So although movie theaters just did open in Orange County, so they're a little bit closer, but
Clapping for
But
that.
yeah, but it's still a little bit of a drive away. So
Yeah.
I'm not capable of just going out whenever I want. And yeah, like what you said, the fires, man, the air quality has been terrible.
Yeah.
So I've just been like inside trying not to like die of black lung.
I've been hugging my air purifier for the past week. Just
Well, yeah, I've had the air purifier and the windows have been closed and it's been hot, so it's
yeah,
like, but you want to put the AC on, but then it starts blowing the smoke in the house, and
yeah.
so it's just, yeah, what do you do?
All the troubles of living in California right now, but
Yeah,
it's all right.
well, so I mean, we got a few topics to cover today, so I'm gonna jump right into them.
Let's do it.
I think we want to talk about first the movie theaters right now,
Yeah.
and talk about their current situation. So right now, what it looks like with the recent announcement of Black Widow possibly moving, and then Disney Pixar's Soul, which is either going to move or possibly move to Disney Plus, a la the way they did with Mulan, and then
Boo.
Wonder Woman just moved to December, a week before Dune, um, which leads me to believe that they're probably going to move Dune to like next summer or something like that. So um, we got a lot of titles that seem to be moving,
A lot of moving
and
pieces.
so right now it just looks like there are no, or there's no new content or new features moving into theaters. So that is definitely going to hurt movie theaters. And I mean, you can only play these classic films so much before people are kind of over it and stop going to go see it. So
Right.
Rob, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think about movie theaters? What do you think they should do, and what are your thoughts?
I mean, I probably have an unpopular opinion, but I'm all for theaters just opening up. Obviously not.
Uh,
There needs to be some kind of boundary set as far as what how many people we're going to allow in it, at least for a certain
yeah,
point. How many people we're going to allow in a theater, what social distancing and all that stuff. But I'm for the theaters opening up, and why it is because um for one, I like obviously I want to get back to the theater, and
yeah,
I love the movies, I love the movie theater experience, but also just in a like a human to human kind of a reasoning is I know people live because like they make a living working at the theaters
yeah,
and just livelihood. Like we like for
yeah, for
me,
sure.
this needs to be kind of like we need to do what here's the thing is I see some stuff kind of opening up and some stuff not opening up. And to me, I'm just like, I know these theaters, like if you say, hey, you got to open up, but you got to do all these stuff, these theaters are going to do in a heartbeat because they need
Yeah,
to make the money. They need to get people, their employers back. I mean, their employees back and working and
mm-hmm.
bringing the theater in money. So I know they'll meet all the stipulations that are required. It's just, I feel like they're not like at this point it's just like they're not giving the theaters like, okay, you got to do this and this, because I know for sure the theaters would do them because they want people back in the theater. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of for just opening up the theaters with, again, stipulations to make sure that people feel
Well, yeah,
safe and
you have your
comfortable.
guidelines, you have,
Right.
the things that you need to follow, obviously, because you want people to be safe and feel safe and all of those things. But I think the reality is that with the studios moving all of their films, like they can open up, but what is there to even play? I mean,
Yeah.
you can only play.
I'm not gonna go see.
Sorry, activated my Siri. But you can only, but
Siri
you can
wants to get
only.
in on this topic
Yeah,
too.
she wants to give her opinion, but you can only play, Back to the Future and Indiana Jones so many times before people get bored and like, okay, I want something new, something
Right.
fresh. I mean,
Right.
I could tell you so many times, like I'm at home and then it's like I've watched everything. It's like I got nothing else left to watch. There's nothing new for me to watch, and even at home. So you get tired, and it's like you don't want to watch the same thing over and over again. I can only watch so many episodes of The Office before I get bored. You
Then
know,
too, like what you're saying about them moving, us not having any really original content as far as movies. That also has to do with theaters not opening up because they're like, it's not valuable. Like we're not going to make a profit putting our movie on this release day
yeah,
if only whatever third whatever however many states or however many cities have theaters open. But if everything's not open completely, the theaters, I mean the movie theaters and movie studios, they're going to lose money, and
yeah.
it's just, but if they started
And
opening
that's the
up
thing
theaters,
is
I feel like it
because it
would work.
costs. Because that's the thing too. It's because it costs the operation costs of keeping these theaters open.
Right.
You know, it's hurting them because you have a limited number of seats that you can sell per show. So that's a factor,
Right.
but you still need almost the same amount of people, staff, right?
Right.
So you're not making as much money, but you have to pay the same amount of people to be there to service your guest and to also keep the theaters clean and
Right.
and do all the things that you need to do. You know, is it really viable? Does it really make sense
Yeah.
without having new content? And what I've noticed is theaters like Regal and then even AMC, when they're showing a lot of these older or more classic, films, they're only charging like $5 or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah, and
you can
that's,
sell out the theater, but whatever sold out really means nowadays, it's like
yeah, you're making a
you're not
fraction of what
making
you would
full much of
normally.
a
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I understand that there's a definite want on the exhibitor side to get back in because you got people that are relying on it. I still have friends that work for the theater industry for the and so they've been sitting at home since like March or whatever whenever it was when everything shut down,
Yeah.
6-7 months now, and so it's I know that they want to get back to work because they want to be able to survive basically. And so we had, and here's the other thing is we had Tenant, and I think Warner Brothers was banking on the other theaters or not the other theaters but the other studios to follow suit, like we're
Right.
gonna open this up, we're gonna do a big number, and everybody's gonna want to follow suit and see like it is successful. But Tenant didn't do as well as we were hoping that it would do here in the States, at least. Here in the States and basically North America.
Yeah.
But, overseas it's done pretty well. It's held up pretty well. But here in the States, people just aren't coming out to see it. And I think that's scaring a lot of the studios out of releasing their films. And so it's like maybe we should move everything back.
Yeah. I agree.
And
I agree.
and who gets caught in the middle of it? Our theaters.
Yeah, the
So
theaters.
so for me personally, do I think that they should open everything up? As much as it pains me to say it, I'd say no. I think maybe they should shut down because if they stay open, you're not being able to pay the rent. You're not
Right.
being able to they're gonna they're gonna lose out on the business anyway. So I don't know. I don't know what the real answer is.
No,
I
no,
think maybe
I think you're right. I mean, yeah, I want them to open up, and I feel like they need to make money, but you're right. If they're opening up just to lose money, they're risking more of actually going out of business like permanently. So, I
yeah.
mean, I think you're right on this topic.
I don't know if you've thought about it, but I was thinking about it. Like there are other ways that they could possibly stay viable and make money, is possibly just renting out theater rooms for like private screenings, because in that way you don't have to. I mean, yeah, you'd probably still like there's probably
That's
only
smart.
an X amount of people that you can have in a theater, but if you rent out a theater room to people, and then like you don't have to worry so much about
I,
other things.
yeah, I hear you with that, but I
And
mean, even just like I just went out. I went out to eat with some my in-laws, and we had a group of 10 people, and we had to
yeah,
sit at two different tables because right now you're not allowed to sit with more than 6 people at your table.
yeah,
So I really don't think they're gonna be like, okay, like we're gonna rent out this theater and it's gonna hold X amount of people and
yeah,
kind of
that's true.
because especially if it's you personally are renting it because you are more likely to not abide by the rules if you're
Yeah,
around
you're more
people that
likely
you
to be more
know.
loose, more comfortable because they're
Yeah,
people you know, and so
yeah.
it's like, here, let me take off my mask and whatever.
So yeah,
So
but good idea though. That it's a good idea.
I mean, yeah, I mean, those are some ways that you can try to stay afloat. I mean,
Yeah,
but I guess so. Right now, I think it's either close or try to find something else because right now it doesn't look like anything's coming out till at least December. So
yeah. Well,
it's gonna be tough times. We'll
yep.
see. Um, yeah. So, anyways, we got that, and I mean, well, you want to talk about new content? There's a new film that came out, Rob, and on Netflix, and we can, and you know what? It's gotten a lot of controversy, so I feel like we should probably address it here and talk about it and give our opinions and our thoughts on it. So the film is Cuties, and Rob, why don't you tell us about the Cuties film on Netflix and
Well,
give us your thoughts?
here's the thing, Adrian. Is I have not watched it, and
Okay.
there's reasons why I've not watched it, and let me tell you why. I know we're especially me. I'm one of those people that's like I don't read, so I won't say don't judge a book by its cover, but I will say you shouldn't judge a movie by a trailer.
Yeah.
Um, but with this and just based off stuff I've read and kind of just doing a little research into it because I just didn't want to jump off and be like, oh, this movie is just bad and horrible and this and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Um, and just the way that it came off to me and it just it's I'm trying to think it's hard to explain. It's just pretty much from what I read, it's about this girl, this really young girl who sees this type of dancing. It's very kind of provocative dancing, and I guess is inspired by it, and they form like a group of girls who do their dance thing, and
Yeah.
I'll say this: someone I know had not she posted I think it was like a 30-minute to a minute clip of us like a full scene from the
A
movie.
full scene from the film.
Yeah, full scene from the film. And honestly, dude, like just watching it, and I wanted to throw up. Like I felt sick. I felt very disgusting after just watching that 30
Yeah.
second to a minute clip. I just felt really gross, and I literally felt like I was gonna throw up.
It
And
was.
it's very tough to watch, especially and from what I've read, like the director was like, oh, they were trying to like, kind of shine a light on this issue, but the way
Okay.
stuff was filmed that I've seen, again, I didn't see the movie, just this little clip. It I feel like if that's what they're trying to do, if this was
Mm-hmm.
the director was trying to do is shine a light, they did it in a really bad way, and they were focusing on things on young children that should not be focused on, and it was really disgusting. I don't know what if you have
You
to
know,
say.
for me, I'm a father of two very young girls, and so just reading up on it, like, and like you, I was curious, and so like I had actually read a lot of like people posting stuff about this,
Yeah,
what's the word I'm looking for? Description
right.
of like scenes and how it kind of plays out and all this other stuff, and then like you know kind of exploiting young girls in that way for me especially it's like it's very uncomfortable, and it's like, man, I can't be watching this. And then like it's one thing, like what you're saying, it's one thing to want to shine a light on that whole world, that show mom world where you women kind of live vicariously through their daughters, through these beauty pageants and these dance shows or whatever.
Right.
But like what you're saying, there's a way to do it without hypersexualizing
Yeah.
young girls. And so I understand like what you're saying. You can't judge a book by its cover, and I understand there's art and there's ways to go about it. But I like for me, it's just like even just seeing the poster, right? I saw the
Right.
poster,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like the positions that they were holding. Like these are positions that you would expect from grown women, and like they're very like sexual like stances, in a way where it's just like I can't sign off on that and say like, yeah, get off the fence and watch that. I just
Yeah.
can't. And again, there's a way to do it. There's a way to expose that world that kind of takes advantage of young girls in a very vulnerable state. But it's when you kind of you know I don't know if really the director was just trying to go for shock value, like going because there
Yeah.
are films that do that. They go for shock value and they go very extreme, and that's and they weren't, and the director wasn't expecting what happened because it was like, oh, everybody I think it's a French film, right, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
It was, yeah.
So like in that country things might be okay over there, but here it's like we're still very conservative. We're still a pretty conservative country in comparison to a lot of other places.
Yeah.
And so when it gets over here, and I was reading an article today, and that's what I was looking at right now on my phone. It was about how there is a huge drop in subscriptions, and this is a big reason why I canceled Netflix, and
Yeah.
hashtagging Cuties, and the number of the stocks that had dropped for Netflix. So it took a huge hit.
Yeah.
And I think especially with conservative groups that are like, calling out against it, you know. But again, for me, I'm just kind of like, what, I'm all for art, and
Hmm.
and I've seen things that have been, some would say kind of explicit and and either graphic or derogatory or whatever
Right.
words you want to use, but they're done in a way where it makes sense, and it's not like what we're talking about, like hypersexualizing young children.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that's the problem in today's day and age where, human trafficking is very real, and kids are being taken away and all that other stuff, and sexualization of children is very real. I think we have to be careful with what we show and what we depict.
Right.
There are ways around it. We don't have to show them getting up on a stripper pole and acting like crazy. Like that's not necessary.
Yeah.
There are ways around it. So I don't know, Rob. That's a bit of my rant,
Yeah.
but
No. 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 I mean, I'm completely behind you, and also too, um, in along the lines with what you were saying, like stuff that maybe like I know I don't watch the most cultured and cleanest stuff ever, but
yeah,
one thing is these like stuff like this. It's like these are kids, and some one another YouTuber podcaster I was listening to was talking about it, and they brought up a good issue. It's not, it wasn't just one take that these children did. They were, this was to get what they were doing was multiple of takes, and
yeah,
just imagine, like, I mean, I'm not going to say imagine your daughter, but if it was, a little girl,
yeah,
that my niece or someone, doing this, how would you feel? And as a parent, like, uh, I mean, I know you would probably feel disgusted in something like
yeah.
that. So it's just
Well, yeah, because then you got like strangers and people just
yeah,
kind of
exactly, exactly,
staring. It's just kind
exactly.
of like
I don't know,
yeah,
but I mean, with the Netflix subscription going down, and I mean that just showed. I mean, maybe Netflix will do something about it, because feel like that was kind of people um
well, I've been
speaking
trying to
out.
cancel my. I've been trying to cancel my Netflix subscription for years now, but my wife won't let me because there's a lot of like cooking shows and stuff that she likes to watch on
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, all right, fine, you can keep it, but like, there's not a lot on there that I watch really. I'm like, kind of, I'm like, I rarely tune into Netflix now, only because of the reviews, like with the movies that drop on Netflix
Yeah,
from time to time that we might review. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it, but for the most part, like that's the only reason why. Like I
yeah.
never really turn on Netflix, so
I feel like they don't have. I feel like maybe years ago they were coming out with really good content.
Well, here's the thing too, like with Netflix, because of this, they started the streaming wars.
Yeah,
You know, because they had contracts with like all of these other bigger
right.
name films and TV shows, but with streaming wars, everybody wants to start their own
So yeah, they
subscription
want their
service and
properties.
their own app. It's kind of like they're once those contracts end, they're pulling all their stuff. They're not renewing the contracts,
Yeah,
and they're like, here, buy HBO Max or buy
like bye bye
C
Office and Netflix.
yeah, buy CBS All Access, buy the Peacock,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's like all this stuff is kind of splitting, and now it's like you gotta, instead of having one place to go to, you gotta go to five other places, and so now the whole point of cutting the cord to cable was that you had everything in one spot, but now
not
everything is
anymore.
in like 10 different spots, and purchasing each of the ad or the apps, it's kind of like it ends up being almost just the same as what you were paying on cable before. So
Yep.
but anyways, that's a different topic. That's a different topic. But yeah, no, guys. For those of you watching at home, have you canceled your Netflix subscription? Do you feel offended at all by the Cuties film, or do you not even care? Do you think? Did you watch the film? Did you think it wasn't that bad? Why don't you comment down below and let us know what you thought of this topic. All right. So speaking of grotesque and disgusting and
Yes.
over the top, there's a show that has been on. It is currently in its second season, and Rob and I wanted to review it and talk about it. And that is The Boys on Amazon Prime. And so we're currently in the second season of The Boys, and episode 5 dropped on Friday night.
Yep.
And so Rob and I watched both of the first season, and we're caught up to the 5th episode of the second season. So Rob, I'll let you take the lead on this one. Your thoughts on The Boys?
You know what? Okay, so obviously, I think the first season was epic. Um, so here's the thing: the second season, and I have to I kind of got to take myself back a little bit because the
Yeah.
first season they just I guess these streaming services are I don't know what. Maybe they learned something where it's like, oh, don't drop everything at once if you want to keep like everyone for a while.
Yeah, it's like what they did with Mandalorian.
Yeah,
And I
so
think the reason why they do that is because they want to stay relevant. Because like with the show, like speaking of canceling subscriptions and all that, a show like Stranger Things, they drop the entire season all on one day, and people binge it, and then they go and cancel and wait till the
right,
next season comes, and then they renew it, and
right.
then like all of that. But you know, people watch it. They're talking about your show for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're done. It's like, all right, it's
Yeah,
over. We all watched it. We're over it now. But like with Mandalorian, and then now The Boys, you get an episode that drops each week. You're talking about it for a little bit longer.
yeah.
So
So
you know,
I mean, I don't. I mean, guess that's smart on their part because you're gonna keep people who would have just been like, I'm gonna watch it and
yeah,
cancel it. But anyways, so the first season, I got to binge watch it because it just all dropped on Amazon Prime,
yeah,
and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I was like, these superheroes who are pretty much super villains,
bad guys. Yeah,
yeah, they're awesome. And to kind of have these underdogs, these regular dudes who are just on a
The
mission because
Boys.
yeah, the boys, because each one of them has some kind of issue with the soup, and I thought the first season was great, amazing.
Yeah,
The second season, and this is where I said I kind of got to step back because the first season I got all of them at once, like binge
all of
them.
them at once. Yeah.
Now the second season, what they're doing is something different. They dropped the first 3 episodes, and I thought that was gonna be kind of I thought that was gonna be kind of like maybe they were gonna do like 3, 2, 3 or something like that because I think there's only
Yeah.
8 episodes in this season.
Yeah.
But
8.
so for the first 5 episodes of this season, I felt like it started off a little bit slow. The
Okay.
first episode, I don't think we got too much of we didn't really get Butcher, and I feel like Butcher's one of the best characters on the show.
Well, his story and his arc is the most intriguing.
It is.
From that carries over from the first
Right,
season.
right.
But I'll let you go ahead and finish your point.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. So yeah, but I was gonna go along to those lines. So that first season, his arc was he had something to do, and
Yeah.
and at the end of the first season, his he had still something to do, but it wasn't. It
Oh,
wasn't.
you know what? Hold on.
Go ahead. What?
All right, guys. For those of you that are watching at home, we're gonna get into spoilers.
Yeah.
I feel
Oh,
Rob is. I feel Rob is dancing around
Yes, I am.
here.
I am.
But I feel like the best way to talk about the seasons and the episodes is they're gonna have to be spoiler induced. So
Okay.
if you don't want to know what's gonna happen, why don't you check out the show and then come back and then hear our thoughts.
All right. Here we
Anyways, go
go.
ahead, Rob.
Spoiler warning. There you go. So when we find out that because the whole first season, the Butcher is all against Homelander because he thought he pretty much murdered his wife. At the end of that season, we find out he Homelander didn't do it.
Yeah.
They took her some way, and he has a kid, or his wife has a kid. It's Homelander's kid, and but the whole first season was kind of the Butcher's arc, and I feel like with the second season, the way it's kind of going now, his arc is not it's not as good because the first and it's I think it's one of those things too where it's like you always have like the amazing first season and then kind of like the second season that falls a little, and again we're only kind of like halfway through it, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is whatever, but for as of right now
we're 5/8 into the season.
yeah, as of right now, I'm enjoying it. There's certain things that I feel like it's kind of like all over the place, and certain characters are kind of the boys have kind of split up and they're kind of doing their own things, and I like the fact that they were all in the first season, that they were all together, and they were the posse.
It's got a very Lord of the Rings feel. By the end of the first season, they kind of split. So like by the second one, they're like kind of doing their own little task.
Yeah. So I know I mean I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's definitely not as good so far. It's not as good as the first season
so far,
but I still enjoy it. I'm still enjoying it.
What so think? For me, I'm sorry, Rob, I cut you off.
No, I was done. Go ahead. What do you think?
No. So for me, I enjoyed the first season. I liked the take. I liked the idea. It was a unique take on superheroes. From what I understand, it's a pre-existing comic book.
Yeah.
But I had never heard of it, so it was interesting to me because I really have no clue who these characters are or where the story is going. So I like that.
Okay.
But again, I like the idea of it, like these just random people that have their own personal bone to pick with the superheroes are trying to figure a way to bring down this organization which these superheroes work for called Vought. And so I like that the show kind of touches on social media, the way public perception, the way if we did something bad, we got to do damage control and PR, and we got to do all of these PR campaigns to just kind of clean up our image and that sort of stuff. And like the secrecy and all that, so that's interesting. Like that like mega evil corporation that they're trying to bring down, and expose the superheroes for what they really are.
Right.
That was all very interesting in that first season. But then when you get to the second season, to your point, it hasn't been as strong.
Mm-hmm.
That first episode was just like it was kind of boring. I'll be honest, and like waiting for Butcher. Yeah. And Butcher finally shows up, but what I felt for this season is like they don't know what to do with him, and it's kind of like he's just kind of there, and especially like in episode 4 where he goes and finds out where his wife is to that facility, and it was funny because of the God, what is her name? The girl that like used to be in the CIA or whatever and like is helping him out. She gives him like a name, Liberty, and she gives him like an address or something like that. Oh, I found your wife. Well, at least where to look. And she's like, it's a Vought facilities, super heavily guarded, all this other stuff. So it sounds like it's going to be like a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And they cut to it and he's just like jumping the fence. He just like jumps the fence and then he's like in. So I'm like, there's no like cut to him like trying to like use any sort of tech or whatever.
It's like
just a rope.
Where the camera
and jump the wall, and that's it. And I'm like, that's some security right there. I mean, God, So that was kind of dumb. But then when he finally meets his wife, and it's like this whole back and forth of like, I love you, I miss you, and this is what happened. And then she's kind of like, well, I can't go with you after all. I just want to stay here and raise my son, Homelander's son or whatever. And then it's kind of like now he's on his own. And it's like, all of that happened within the span of like a quarter of an episode. Yeah. Like towards the end of that very episode. And it's kind of like, it felt so rushed. Like it could have had him, like the conflict between him and his wife go over at least like 2 or 3 episodes to kind of like build that so that you feel that his character is really, because in the very next episode, he's super depressed and like
Yeah.
kind of, you know, and
He wants to give up on life.
yeah, um, and and it's kind of like, well, what are they doing with this character now?
Yeah.
And they kind of turn a corner at the end of episode 5, which is kind of cool with Butcher. But again, I'm optimistic, hoping that they really have to come finish strong with these last 3 episodes, because otherwise, like, I don't know personally if I want to stay invested,
Okay.
because I feel like they're kind of just like shooting darts in the dark and hoping that they
Hoping something
get
lands.
something good, you know. But again, I like the social commentary on things. I like that they were taking jabs at Josh Whedon and
Yeah.
the Justice League. I don't know if you caught that in
Yeah.
this last episode. They took jabs. Okay, here's the thing that I really liked. I probably get some hate for saying this, but what I they took jabs at Marvel and the Avengers when they if you remember in Avengers Endgame, where they kind of shoehorned that whole girl power scene.
Oh yeah,
They took jabs at that, where it was like, girls power up, and it's like all three of the girls from the Seven, and they're right there, and it's kind of like, you know, and the way they're kind of like, oh, we want, you know, to be more specific with the roles with 2 lesbians, and like one has to wear a pantsuit and all this other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And it takes jabs at the way the imaging works and the way they want to try to be perceived, like, oh, we're really, you know, progressive and very whatever, without, but not really being sensitive to what it actually means to
Right.
be progressive and
Right.
sensitive to those actual issues. They're
It's just
just,
more like an image.
yeah, we just want to look like
Yeah.
we're there, but we don't really care. And so I like that they did stuff like that, and it makes it interesting. Oh, you know, I almost forgot to talk about Stormfront,
Okay.
the new character in this second season. She's pretty interesting. I like where they're going with it. Apparently, again, for those that are watching, spoilers, she's an old school super that's probably 70 years old that used to go by the name Liberty. And they come to find out that she just kind of rebranded herself and nobody knew that. And so she's now the newest member of the Seven, and she's kind of stealing some of Homelander's thunder.
Yeah.
And she's
He
kind
doesn't
of,
like that.
he doesn't like that, but she's also showing him, like, look, you can be popular without having all these PR people and stuff like that. All you need to do is create a meme and drop it out there on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and then, you know, you're up like 5 points or whatever. And so I like that social commentary about the world that we live in, about how all you do is drop a meme and then people eat it up without ever really doing any fact checking, without ever doing any of that. And so those are the things and the themes about the boys that I really enjoy and that I like. But, you know, I really want them to make it a little bit tighter with Butcher's story and the rest of the boys. Huey, Mother's Milk, whom I really enjoy. I think he's the strongest character throughout the second season.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I just really need them to tighten it up and stick the landing here in the last 3
The
episodes.
last 3 episodes. Let's bring it home, boys.
Do that, yes. Rob, is there anything else that you feel the need to discuss here in Real Talk? Because we are a show about talking. Real.
No, I think we've definitely gotten real, and we've talked about all these topics that I feel like affected us in some way, and they're definitely real and from the heart. All these topics that we talk about, Adrian.
Yeah, well, always a pleasure talking with you, Rob. So, guys, for those of you that have any concerns or thoughts, you want to talk about the movie theaters, you want to talk about Cuties, you want to talk about the boys, and what
The
your thoughts are on any of
boys.
those topics that we covered, or if there's something that we didn't cover and that you want us to talk about, why don't you comment down below and let us know what you thought. Also, don't forget to click like, subscribe, share. Oh, and follow us on Instagram for all of our behind the scenes content and little extra stuff that we post on there at On the Fence Movie Reviews.
And remember, we'll catch you on the fence.